How's it going, everybody? This is Cameron White with White Light Astrology, giving you guys your weekly forecast of what the fuck is going on in the universe for November 26th through December 3rd. Whew, man, what a weekend that we just got over with Thanksgiving and the full moon in Gemini and the sun conjuncting Jupiter, and that was probably one of the longest weekends ever. However, before I go into this week, I did want to remind everybody I have a Black Friday / Cyber Monday sale going on all my readings. Be sure you check out my website to see what the discount is, but that does end tonight. So if you guys do want to get a 2019 year ahead reading or just a natal chart reading, go ahead and visit my website and you'll see that on there. But that does end tonight. I did want to say that. Other than that, yeah, I have my monthly horoscopes out. You guys can go check those out for December as well. I'll be posting the new moon in Sagittarius horoscopes. Those will be posted later on this week, probably on Thursday or Friday. So anyway, besides all that stuff, let's kind of go into this week, because this week is it's going to be very interesting. I don't want to say it's like, super crazy or a lot, but I really do think that it's very much amplified. Starting off with today on Monday, we had the sun and Jupiter conjuncting at 4 degrees. While that was still continuing on, we also had the moon in Cancer getting really close to the North Node. And I don't know if you guys felt this or not, but with the nodes now being in Cancer and Capricorn, I feel like now with the moon in Cancer with that North Node energy, you can feel it there. And with the sun and Jupiter conjunction that we had today, and this is going to be continuing on until tomorrow, it's been basically kind of like a refresh in our beliefs, kind of expanding and kind of starting that whole new idea of this whole Jupiter and Sag thing. So as exciting and as fun as that's been, tomorrow on Tuesday, that's going to be November 27th, we do have Mercury going Cazimi and conjuncting the sun, and then it's going to hit Jupiter. And so I think as Mercury comes retrograde and hits all of this stuff on tomorrow, or between now and tomorrow, I think this is when a lot of the inspiration, a lot of the philosophical things, the more Jupiter type feelings that this is all caused, I guess, with the the excitement, with looking at what's possible, looking at what's next, understanding that there's got to be something deeper to be revealed, to be experienced, and hoping for more and hoping for better and wanting growth, like all that sun and Jupiter stuff. As Mercury retrogrades and hits the sun and it hits Jupiter, I think this is going to be a really positive refresh of our mental attitudes towards things. As Mercury goes into Sagittarius and it was retrograde, it's like, yeah, it is a lot. Yeah, it is kind of, everywhere, and it's hard to take it all in at once. But as Mercury goes Cazimi within the sun and it gets, basically almost purified by fire with Jupiter, I think this is going to be a great time to really reset our mindsets towards, what are we wanting to grow into? What are we wanting to believe? Where do we want to adopt a new, maybe not even new, but a more healthier, more positive, more abundant understanding of ourselves? Especially with Jupiter right here, this is not just about ourselves. This is about our view on the world. This is about being positive. This is about looking for growth. This is about wanting to grow and kind of going in that direction. And as Mercury comes back, I think that this is just going to be kind of like all hitting us all at once in the more mental state, in the more logical sense of Mercury. Like, okay, things are starting to get written down. Things are starting to get jotted down on paper. However, on Tuesday, too, the moon's going to go into Leo, and it's going to trine this sun, Jupiter, Mercury Cazimi thing going on. And as this moon's in Leo, I think we're going to feel very, proud and willing to do this and wanting to go on. And I think, as well, on Tuesday, we have Mars sextiling Saturn. So with all of this refreshed mindset stuff and what was I just talking about? Oh, the moon in Leo, there we go. With the moon being in Leo, trining all of that as well, kind of like, the moon's in Leo, it's going to make you feel really pumped up. It's going to make you feel really like, yeah, I'm ready to do this and take this on, and I'm excited, and yada, yada, yada. As Mars is in Pisces and sextile Saturn on this same day, I do think that this is going to give us some support with what our next step is, because, we've had Mars in Pisces. It's not necessarily so much of a clean, clear shot. You know exactly what path you're going down. You have to take things one step at a time. You have to feel it all out. And as Mars sextiles Saturn on this day, I think all of this inspiration, all of this understanding, and this evoking of a new mindset, and really purifying and cleaning that out, I think this Mars sextile Saturn is going to kind of help us be like, okay, because this is these new mindsets, this is the attitude, this is the emotions that I'm feeling right now, and these are the energy that's being reset. Mars sextiling Saturn is kind of like, okay, I know what my next step is from here. This is a supportive step. This is something that's going to give me structure. This is something that's going to bring a foundation to it, make it more realistic. It's going to be kind of like it's like making the right next step, basically. Anyway, as we go on into Wednesday, all of this is still kind of continuing. Like the Sun, Jupiter, Mercury conjunction won't be exact anymore, but they're all still right next to each other. And besides the Moon making a trine to Uranus later on, before it goes into Virgo, which is going to be on Thursday, we're basically just having a continuation of that energy. There's not really too much happening on Wednesday, but I do think, as time goes on after Tuesday going into Wednesday, things are going to sit a little bit more bigger. Things are going to be a little bit more clear, and you're just basically going to be sitting with all of that, with that Moon and Leo energy of like, hey, this is what we're proud of. This is what our heart wants. This is what I'm dedicating to. This is what I'm loyal to. This is how, I need to treat myself. This is how I need to treat others. What's going to be the best thing for my emotions and what I do. And with the Moon and Leo trining, it's still going to be trining the Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter by sign. I do think that we're just going to be sitting on that energy and really being inspired by it, really feeling like, we're ready to go to the next step. However, the next day, on Thursday, on November 29th, we have the Moon going into Virgo, where it is going to be opposing Mars, it's going to be squaring the Sun, it's going to be squaring Jupiter and Mercury as well, and it's going to be trining Saturn. And the Moon going into Virgo, this is basically, the square before we go into the new Moon. I think this Moon in Virgo is going to become very critical of, hey, not necessarily what is our next step, but when it comes to making the next step, what is going to be the correct one? Because the Moon is in Virgo, where it's more about, specifying. It's more about being clear. It's more about laying out groundwork. It's all about the consistency. And as the Moon squares the Sun, it's going to oppose Mars. It's going to square Jupiter, square Mercury. It's going to feel like a headache where you got all this stuff going on and you got to, organize it and file it down to every last little drop. And with the Moon being in Virgo, I think we're also going to become a lot more clear of what, basically like this does need to be organized. We can't just, take all of this Jupiter stuff willy-nilly and go crazy with it. I think this is the time to really, center yourself and get focused on, if this is the change, this is the stuff that you want to see in your world, you've got to be willing to look at it and be willing to organize it, plan it a little bit better. And as the Moon goes into Virgo and opposes Mars, I do think that this is going to be like a big light on, hey, what is that next step? Hey, is this going to be the right and the correct way to do things? So as we go through that, it is going to feel, kind of chaotic because it's going to feel very overwhelming. It is the Moon in Virgo with Sag season and Jupiter and Mercury retrograde. It's going to feel a little overwhelming, but the biggest thing that you can really do is take what you can with it. Hold on, that didn't make any sense. Do what you can with it, meaning while the Moon's in Virgo, you want to organize, you want to prep, you want to feel clean, you want to feel ready, you want to feel prepared, you want to harvest. As it squares the Sun and it opposes Mars, I think this is going to be a big time to really look at what are the habits, what are the little tiny details that you have to shift on an emotional level to really get this big picture change going. So then later on into Friday, also on late Friday night into Saturday, wait, hold up. Oh my God, I mixed up Thursday and Friday. I'm telling you guys, Mercury's retrograde in my first house, and I've never been so like, huh, what? Anyway, going into Friday, that's when the Moon's going to oppose Neptune. That's when Venus is going to oppose Uranus. And later on Friday night, going into Saturday morning, Mercury's going to retrograde back into Scorpio on the 1st. So on November 30th, we have the Moon opposing Neptune, where as the Moon kind of gets a little bit critical in Virgo, doing all of that work with all the other planets, as it opposes Neptune, I think this is going to start to lift off a little bit more of that veil of confusion. That organization, that planning is starting to lift some fog up. So make sure you kind of go in that direction. But Venus is also going to oppose Uranus for the last time of this. I feel like this has been going on forever, but it's going to happen in Aries and Libra. And this is what's really interesting about this on Friday. I mean, yeah, you could say that this is on the 1st or whatever, but on Friday, as we have this Venus-Uranus opposition, as Venus is direct in Libra, she's the morning star and she's wanting to move forward and she's wanting to bring things together and she's wanting to, not necessarily bring things together in a forceful way, but she's adventurous and she's, making the next step forward when it comes to, bringing things together, having things work out, things be balanced, having things really be full of value and meaning on a very, because here's the way to look at Libra. Sure, Libra is a Venus sign where it's about beauty, it's about, you know, all of that fun stuff, but it's also Saturn's exaltation. So there is a part of Libra that is very Saturnian on the level of this is a little bit serious. This has to be justified. This has to be this has to be disciplined. And as Venus is in Libra, where she's really strong and she's really powerful and she makes that opposition to Uranus and Aries, I think this is taking that liberating next step to, okay, what is this that you want to create? What is this new journey that we're going on? You know, don't forget, after Venus opposes Uranus, it's going to go straight into Scorpio later on. So as Venus is in Libra, where it's very dignified, it's very strong, she has a lot of reasons to, I guess the best way to put it, she has a lot of reasons, not necessarily excuses, but reasons for her justifications for what she wants to bring together, what she wants to create, and what she wants to put value into. And as it opposes Uranus, I think this is going to be the time to take that liberating next step, that, you know, out of your comfort zone next step to initiate that process. Because then right after on, on Saturday, on Saturday, we have the moon going into Libra, Mercury retrograding back into Scorpio, where now Mercury, you know, he had his fun with Jupiter and the sun. Now he's back in Scorpio, where things are starting to get real raw and serious. Things are starting to get very clear. Things are starting to get more fine and detailed and tuned down into. I talked about this in my monthly horoscopes. But on December 1st, when Mercury's going back in there, and we also have the sun squaring Mars, I think this is when things are going to become clear. I think you're going to feel more ready to take that next step. I feel like you're going to be a little bit more, what's the best way to put it? Even though with Mars being in Pisces, where it is about, you know, trusting our intuition with our steps, not being able to see the whole road in front of us, as the sun is in Sagittarius, where it's really reminding us to be positive and to believe in something bigger, and Mars is in Pisces and it squares the sun on this day, I think this is where it's going to really get down to, okay, how much can you just trust and have faith? It's kind of like taking that leap of faith. And I don't think this is so much as a big jump or a big leap, but I think this is, again, with, you know, one step at a time type faith. You know, it's just about climbing the stairs one stair at a time, and you'll eventually get to the top. With Mercury going back into Scorpio on Saturday too, and again, this is Saturday, December 1st, I think this is when, now that Mercury is not so confused and blindsided by the sun and Jupiter, and he's back in Scorpio, Mercury can get more focused, Mercury can get more serious, and Mercury can be more conservative with where he applies his energy. So as we have Saturday continuing on, because that sun square Mars thing is going to happen for the next couple days, it's going to happen at 9 degrees and it's going to end at 11 degrees. Going into Sunday, we have Venus going into Scorpio, and then we also have the sun squaring Mars. So the sun square Mars, again, this is kind of like having that faith, having that trust, really embodying that. And having Venus going into Scorpio is going to have that embodiment of all this stuff become like, oh, this is a little bit scary. This is out of my comfort zone. And it's kind of like, you know, as Venus goes back into Scorpio, where she's still in shadow, where she retrograded, it's kind of like the first time you rode a bike and you fell, you didn't stop riding a bike forever, or maybe you did. I'm sorry about that. But maybe, you know, you fell down, you don't want to ride a bike again or whatever. Venus going back into Scorpio is like, you might be scared to get back on that bike again, because now you're scared of falling. Now you're scared of getting hurt. But now you're prepared for it. Now you're prepared for what can come after it. Now you're prepared for what it's going to really look like. And as Venus goes back into Scorpio, I think this is when we're going to, you know, where Venus was in Libra, she was like, I'm strong, I'm ready, this is what I want. Venus in Scorpio has to get out of her comfort zone to actually go for it, to actually obtain it, to actually focus in on it and hold on to that image, that idea, that emotion that Venus wants to bring out. And she's got to go for it, you know? It's kind of like, as Venus goes back into Scorpio, you know, we've been here before. There's no reason to be scared. It's just about having that trust, not, you know, not being submissive to fear, and being strong with the idea that you can go about this again. That Venus in Scorpio was a rough time, especially as she was retrograde, but now that she's direct, I think she's going to have a lot better attitude moving forward. Then after that, coming back into money, by the time we get back to this video again, we're going to have the moon conjunct Venus as it goes into Scorpio. It'll be opposing Uranus. And then the sun square Mars thing ends, where I think Monday, after we go through this weekend is really just going to be kind of like, what? Like, am I sure I'm going to trust myself? Am I sure, you know, this is what my path is going to look like? And as Mercury goes back into Scorpio, Mars squares the sun, Venus opposes Uranus, Venus goes back into Scorpio. I know that was a lot and I'm talking really fast, but I think after this weekend, things are going to look a lot more real and like understandable. And so as Venus goes back into Scorpio, and then as the moon conjuncts it on Monday, by the time we get back here, I think we're going to have that raw willingness to move and push forward regardless of what it looks like. So besides that, I guess that's really it. I do think that this week is going to be kind of a little bit more hectic than we think, only because the Mercury, Sun, Jupiter stuff, like, it's kind of like the main theme. And Mercury going back into Scorpio is going to be kind of like, you know, Mercury was really blinded by the Sun and Jupiter for a couple minutes. Now it's back in Scorpio. Now everything's kicked on. Everything's kind of like settling in. So as we go into next week, I think we'll be a lot more settled in. But this week is kind of like getting all of that out one last time. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And I'll be seeing you for next week's video.